Hi, welcome to Budget MTG Decks. All magic fun, all cards under $1. I'm David.
I'm Stefan.
And today we're going to be looking at all the blue cards in Kaladesh.
So we're going to evaluate the cards for limited, so draft or sealed.
Yeah, and we're going to be using our very own tier system. It's very simple. If we say a card is tier 1, it means it is a bomb. It is a unconditional removal card. It's something that's going to be winning you the game, and you're always going to be playing it. You're actually going to be looking to play that color if you find this card. The tier 2 card means super good. If you're in that color, it's an auto include, and if you got a bunch of these kind of cards that are tier 2, it pushes you into that color. Tier 3, nice filler cards. You're missing a 2-drop, you're missing a 3-drop. You look to these tier 3 cards to fill out your mana curve. And then we have those cards, we put it aside. They're too conditional. They're not going to be pulling their way. Just put those aside and don't play them. Maybe they're good in another format, but not in limited. So let's get right into the nitty gritty with the common cards. Our first blue card is Thriving Turtle. For 1 blue, we get a 0/3 turtle, and when this guy enters the battlefield, we get 2 energy counters. Now, if it attacks, we also get to play 2 energy counters, and if we do that, it gets a +1/+1 counter. So in essence, we're paying 1 blue mana for a 1/4. You may think, oh, that's pretty good for blocking and stuff, but that's all it does. You might say, hey, it's good because it gives you a nice supply of energy. I just don't think it's going to be doing enough for that 1 mana, and I would say, put it aside.
Yeah, it can get bigger, but still it begins as a 0/3 or 1/4, so I don't think it will do enough.
No.
So next one, select for inspection. So 1 blue instant, we turn our tapped creature to his owner's hand and scry 1. So it's a good filler because if someone attacks you, you can return it to his owner's hand and you can scry. So it doesn't replace itself, but you can look at the top card and it removes a creature for a turn.
In essence, Scry 1 is basically like half a card draw. So if you get something that says Scry 2, it's essentially like drawing a card, the value that you're getting out of filtering. So yeah, being able to remove that big bomb, they're going to have to remove, cast it again, and being able to Scry 1 gets you closer to your bomb or your unconditional removal of that is pretty decent. But still just filler, because you're paying a card and they still have that card. Next we have Glassblower's Puzzle Knot for 2 mana. It enters the battlefield, scry 2, and you get 2 energy counters. So this is essentially like it's replacing itself. And we can also pay 3 mana, sacrifice it, scry 2, get 2 energy counters. So essentially for 5 mana we get 4 energy counters and we get scry 4. Now scry 4 is actually already pretty decent. That's really going to be, especially because in limited you gotta be digging. Not all the cards you got are gold. Example is this card. So when you're able to scry through 4 cards in your deck to get that great card that's going to win you the game, that's pretty big. However, because it's 5 mana, I still think it's a little bit steep for my taste, especially if you don't always have a good outlet for that energy. So I'd still say filler card tier 3.
Yeah, I like it because you can use it early game, but you can also use it late game to just search for your bombs, your answers. So next one, Ether Terrorist. It's 1 and a blue. It's a 1/3 Falcon Rogue, and when the Ether Terrorist enters the battlefield, you get 3 energy counters, and you can tap and pay 1 energy counter to scry 1. So that's actually pretty decent because the scrying helps and already gives you 3 energy counters.
Yeah.
So I like this one as a good filler.
Yeah, imagine you just pop this guy down on turn 2, it can block the 2/2s, so that's good, and at the end of your opponent's turn, you just tap it to scry, paying that energy counter, and you can do that 3 times in a row, digging for that good stuff. Pretty decent, I'd say tier 3 as well. Next we have Revolutionary Rebuff. For 2 mana, it's an instant, we get to counter target non-artifact spell unless the controller pays 2. Early game, it might do something, late game, it won't do anything, put it aside.
Yeah, just because it's only paid 2 more, so
yeah, it's rough. It's rough. Bad card.
So next one, Courier Offender. It's 1 and a blue, 2/1 for Falcon. It's the one toughness I really don't like because it can be blocked by anything.
It's just gonna die.
Exactly.
Terrible.
So put aside.
Bad. We're not off to a great start with blue, huh?
Not really.
Not off to a great start. We go next, Dramatic Reversal for 2 mana. It's an instant, untap all non-land permanents you control. Okay, so this could be a nice little block when people attack into you, all your stuff is tapped. Now I untap everything. Now I can block. Maybe some stuff that when you tap it, you get special abilities, you can redo those again. So it does have some purpose, but it's still filler. I still think tier 3 on its own, it won't do anything either.
Exactly. It can still fill up some slots.
Yeah.
I'm pretty excited about it, but it's not that great.
No, it's not that great.
So the next one, Falcon Blade Master. It's 2 and a blue. It's a 2/3 Falcon soldier with prowess. So a 3 mana 2/3 is pretty decent. With prowess, that's actually pretty good. Still good. It's still a filler, but a pretty good filler.
Yeah, we've seen prowess actually very good ability. I mean, now it's become evergreen, and you've got a lot of artifacts, so there is a chance that it's going to be a 3/4. Very, I think, very good chances of being a 3/4. And remember, 3/4, while being a for 3 mana, is actually really, really strong.
Exactly.
And the fact that it could be triggered with surprises like instance and sorcerer. With surprises with instance, can make it even more deadly and difficult to block. I think it's going to do work. Good filler. Next we have Windrake for 3 mana, a 2/2 flyer. I think 2/2 in the air for 3 mana is a really good deal. I'm saying tier 2, always play it if you're in blue. If I got a couple of these guys, that's pushing me into blue because this card can win you the game. Coming in so early, dealing so much damage in the air.
Yeah, it will deal a lot of damage in the air. So next one, Either Trade Winds. 2 and a blue instant, turn target permanent you control and target permanent you don't control to the owner's hands. I always want to make this work, but it never works out.
No, so don't try.
Yeah,
either.
just put it aside.
You're gonna be there right now. You can think of lots of scenarios where it will be super beneficial. The problem is how often is that actually going to be the case, and you're not going to be looking at it going, okay, if I do this now, I'm in a bigger trouble than my opponent. So don't try to make that work. Then we have Dukara Peafowl for 4 mana. We get a 2/4. In essence, this any color can play this already because for 4 mana 2/4, that's decent. That's right on curve, power, and toughness. But it is a bird, so that means that for 1 blue we can make it flying. It's even better.
Yeah.
The fact is that it's instant speed, this ability, so on the defense people have difficulty attacking into because you can surprise them and turn it into a flyer. And when you're going to be attacking, you're going to be doing 2 damage in the air, and then 4 button means almost no other flyer will be able to kill it. Yeah. I like it. Actually, if I'm in blue, it's an auto include, and if I'm not in blue, I'm probably still included as a filler.
Yeah, it's still a filler for any color, and
in
for
blue
it's just really good.
Yeah.
So next one, Wildfast Wingsmith, 3 and a blue. It's a 3/3 human artificer, and whenever an artifact enters the battlefield under your control, Wildfast Wingsmith gains flying until end of turn. So when you get an artifact, it gains flying, and then it's a 3/3 flyer for 4, which is really good, but it doesn't always have flying. So that's why I just want to put it at tier 3, because it can be good, but it isn't
also not good.
Exactly.
And of course the Peafowl, instant speed, you can make it flying. Whereas this one, it's going to wait till an artifact enters the battlefield, and that's 9 out of 10 times going to be just sorcery speed. So not as good as the Peafowl.
So that's tier 3.
Tier 3, yeah, okay. Yeah, and even if it's just a 3/3 for 4, it's not bad.
It's not bad.
No. Then we have Nimble Innovator for 4 mana. We get a 2/2, a Vidalcan Artificer. And when this guy enters the battlefield, draw a card. So it replaces itself, which is pretty good. For 4 mana for 2/2, that's not really what you want to be doing, but you're not paying the 4 mana for 2/2. You're paying the 4 mana for a chump blocker and drawing closer into your bomb or removal spell, which for that would be decent filler. It doesn't do what you want to do by itself, but it does fill its role as a 4-drop.
Yeah. So the next one, Malfunction, 3 and a blue. It's an aura, enchant artifact or creature. When Malfunction enters the battlefield, tap enchant permanent. Enchant permanent doesn't untap during its controller's untap step. So it just removes something from the battlefield, kinda, and that's actually really good. So tier 2 for me.
This hits everything you want to hit.
Yeah.
You know, it hits the vehicles, it hits the creatures, it hits I don't know, some cool artifact that can tap for some cool ability. It hits everything you want, and for only 4 mana, I think it's a great deal for the flexibility.
Yeah, and I really enjoy the enchant artifact, because if you enchant vehicle, it stays on the vehicle.
Yeah.
So that's really nice instead of the other ones.
True, it's very strong. Failed Inspection for 4 mana. It's an instant counter target spell. Draw a card, then discard a card. Okay, so it loots you as well, but the problem is you gotta keep those 4 mana open. You gotta have 2 blue. Too difficult to make this work. I think just put it aside. Don't think about it. Get the Malfunction. Way better.
So next one, High Tide Hermit, 4 and a blue. It's a 4/4 crab with defender, and when he enters the battlefield, you get 4 energy counters.
That's a lot of energy.
but you can pay 2 energy counters, and then he can attack like it didn't have defender. But you can only attack 2 times with it on its own.
So if somebody already has 2 servo tokens, essentially this card is useless because it just chump blocks twice, and then that's it. Then it's just sitting there.
It's still
defending.
defense. Yeah. It's just, but put it aside because you really want to attack, and a 4/4 on defense is not really what you want to spend 5 mana on.
No.
So just put it aside.
Exactly. Next we have Tezzeret's Ambition for 5 mana, of which 2 have to be blue. We got a sorcery that allows us to draw 3 cards, and if we control no artifacts, discard a card. So essentially, it's probably going to be play 5 mana, draw 3 cards. Sorcery speed. It's not bad. It's not bad. Do I want to do something else? Probably I might want to be doing something else, but is it a filler card? Absolutely. Tier 3?
Yeah.
Tier 3.
So next one, Gear Seeker Serpent. 5 and 2 blue. It's a 5/6 serpent, but he is 1 colorless cheaper for each artifact you control. And for 5 and a blue, it can't be blocked this turn. So I really like this card because you'll be playing artifacts, it'll be cheaper, and then it will be unblockable later. And I really enjoy that. With the 5/6 body, it's good on defense, it's good on offense.
Yeah.
So for me, just tier 2.
This card will win you the game because the problem is, let's say you have 3 artifacts, then it costs 4 mana. 4 mana, 5/6, which later on is going to become unblockable, killing your opponent.
Exactly.
And otherwise, it's just going to be attacking anyway. 5/6. What's going to kill it? Nothing.
So yeah, so good.
So strong for a common tier 2 in blue. Yes, blue has some good cards.
It does.
Not as much as white, but you know, this is another one. This is a great card. Well, those are the commons. Let's have a look at the uncommon cards.
So the first uncommon, Ceremonious Rejection. A blue instant, counter target color spell. So we have a lot of artifacts. There'll probably be a target for it. So normally it's put aside, but in this set, I think it's a filler.
Yeah. The problem, one of the problems I have with this card though is that even though there's a lot of artifacts in this set, they often come from creatures that are not artifacts themselves. So even though when something says, oh, when you have 2 artifacts or when you have an artifact, that you're going to have a lot of. But the problem is the actual spells that are artifacts are going to be much less. The reason why I still think it's a filler is because it's instant speed removal of that thing, plus it only costs 1 mana. So you will probably, I mean, it's never going to be a bad trade.
Yeah.
In essence, for what you're going to be removing. So that's why it's a filler. Next, we have Minister of Inquiries. For 1 mana, we get a 1/2 Vodakan Artificer. When this guy enters the battlefield, get 2 energy counters. Okay, fine. I mean, the body's terrible, but okay, you get 2 energy counters. Plus, we can tap it and pay an energy counter to have target player put the top 3 cards of his or her library into the graveyard. Okay, so you get to mill twice. What are you doing? What are you trying to do with this? That's never going to be good.
Milling 6.
Never going to be good. Put it aside and forget about it.
So we have Ether Meltdown. 1 and a blue aura with Flash. Enchant creature or vehicle. And when an Ether Meltdown enters the battlefield, you get 2 energy counters. And enchant permanents gets -4, -0. I like this as a filler because it kind of shuts down our attacker. So I really enjoy it because of that and because of the Flash.
Yeah, I was about to say I disagree with you with everything up until you said the Flash thing, because that's the only reason why I would say I put this in as a filler. If it would not say Flash, I would chuck it aside. It's because at the moment that they attack with that creature, you can remove essentially its lethal damage, and then you can block with everything you want, and then you can remove something. So you can use this as a removal spell, whereas the other enchantments that aren't Flash, they never do that. So that's why I say still pretty good filler.
Yeah,
in that sense.
I mean, you still get 2 energy counters
as well. Yeah, and 2 mana is a pretty good deal. You can always keep that open. That's not too bad. Then we have Era of Innovation. For 2 mana, we get an enchantment, and whenever an artifact or artificer enters the battlefield under your control, you may pay a generic mana, and if you do, you get 2 energy counters. Okay, you can pay, how much is that? 5, 6 energy counters, and then sacrifice this card and then draw 3 cards. Okay, so this thing does a lot of stuff. The problem is you're gonna have to be. It's only when the artifacts enter you're gonna have to keep mana open to get that energy, and then you're gonna have to save that energy, and then maybe you can draw 3 cards later on. I think it's maybe too many hoops to jump through. Could it be that this card could do something? Maybe if you're building around it. I just think it's a lot of times you're just gonna it's not gonna do anything. You got no energy, and it's just sitting there going, all right.
What I don't like of this card is because if you get it late game, it still doesn't really do anything.
Doesn't do any card. No, you can't immediately pump. It's not like it already comes in with some energy or something, you know.
Because you really need to already have 6 energy, and then draw it and then use it immediately. Yeah. So that's why I don't like it, because of the late game. It doesn't really do anything.
And you know, there's a lot of artifacts. That's true. But the thing is, there's more creatures. It would say whenever a creature enters the battlefield, that'd be a different story. But I just don't think it's enough. Era of Innovator. Put it aside. Glint Nest Crane for 2 mana. We get a 1/3 flying bird, and that's already great. A 1/3 flyer for 2 mana. That's fine. That's tier 3 right there. That's perfect filler. And then when this guy enters the battlefield, look at the top 4 cards of your library. Then you review an artifact from amongst them and put them into your hand and put the rest of the bottom in any order. Okay, so essentially it also draws you a card. Wow.
Yeah.
Nice.
So 2 mana, 1/3 flyer,
evasion, blocking, potentially draws you a card or digs you through for your great nice artifact. Tier 2.
Yeah.
Yeah, always put it in if you're
really
in blue.
good.
I like it. I like it a lot.
So next one, Janjit Sentry. It's 2 and a blue. It's a 2/3 Falcon Soldier. And when he enters the battlefield, you get 2 energy counters, and you can tap it and pay 2 energy counters. You may tap or untap target creature.
Or artifact.
Or artifact. So it isn't bad for 3 mana, 2/3. So it's a good filler. The ability isn't that relevant because you only can do it once.
Yeah.
So
just for the look on for 3 mana, getting a 2/3, that's gonna be blocking a bear and killing it. So it's already decent filler, and the extra ability could come in handy when you need to block that 1 flyer, or tap that 1 flyer so you can get in with your own flyer. So it is just it's filler plus kind of, you know. But it's not like, oh my god, I got this, I gotta build around it, you know.
It's not like Glint Nest Crane.
It's just not. Next we have a Disappearing Act for 3 mana, which 2 have to be blue. It's an instant. As an additional cost to cast this thing, you gotta return a permanent you control to its owner's hand. Meh. And then you get the counter target spell. Double meh. Okay, so no, put it aside. It's gonna be, you just no. We've already discussed these cards so many times how this does not work. Now it's in combination both the having to return something of yours and paying so much to keep your mana open for a counter spell.
Yeah, it's worse than before.
Yes.
So just put it aside. Glimmer of Genius. 3 and a blue instant, scry 2, then draw 2 cards. And you get 2 energy counters.
Yeah.
For 4 mana instant draw, actually not that bad.
No.
So not bad at all. So just put it as a good filler.
Good filler, yes.
Yeah.
It doesn't make the tier 2, but you remember, that scry 2 is essentially like a draw 1 card. So essentially this is pay 4 mana, draw 3 cards, and you plus to get the energy as a bonus.
On instant.
And the fact that it's instant speed, it's a good filler, absolutely.
Filler.
Then we have the next card that is definitely not a filler, Longfinned Sky Whale for 4 mana, of which 2 need to be blue. We get a 4/3 flying whale, and this guy can only block creatures with flying, but you're not going to be blocking with it, so it's not relevant because this thing is going to be punching through sky ships in the air and hitting your opponent in the face with the giant whale tail, which is of course awesome. 4 damage in the air, the 3 toughness is relevant, and all that for a measly 4 mana. This thing can win you the game, I think, so tier 2.
Yeah. You're really excited about that one.
I'm so excited about that. Plus it's a flying whale. How does it even stay up there? It's just the mechanics of it.
So next one, Shrewd Negotiations. 4 and a blue, sorcery. Exchange control of target artifact you control and target artifact or creature you don't control. So you have to trade an artifact for an artifact or a creature. So that's actually pretty decent already, because you can trade something bad for something good.
Yeah, that's essentially what it says is give your crappiest little 1/1 servo token and get your opponent's biggest, strongest creature. That's what it says. And that, for 5 mana, I think it's a pretty good deal.
Exactly. So it's a good filler.
Yeah.
It's not an auto-include for me, but it's a good filler.
Yeah, it's all, yeah. With me, it's leaning towards that too, to tell you. I think I might always play it if I be in blue, but the thing is, just having a couple of these won't make me be in blue, so that's why it's still filler. But it's so close, it's so close. Experimental Aviator for 5 mana, which 2 need to be blue. We get a 0/3 flyer. And once it enters the battlefield, create 2 1/1 colorless Thopter artifact tokens with flying. So, yeah, this is already much more disappointing. I think for 5 mana, we have a 0/3 and 2 1/1s that fly.
Yeah, and he also flies, a 0/2 flyer. If it was 2/5, then I would be more excited about this.
Yes.
But because of the 2 1/1 bodies that he get and the 0/3 body, it's just underwhelming.
You could put it in as a filler, but I'm thinking like I'm almost in putting it aside. So
yeah, it's still good because it's still 2 flyer, 2
over 3
flyers.
bodies.
Yeah.
You know, that could work. But this is as high as the Shrewd Negotiation is in tier 3. This is as low as it is in tier. These are the 2 extremes. You can just put those next to each other, right?
Exactly.
All right, those are the uncommons. Let's have a look at the rares. The first of our rares is Padim, Council of Innovation. For 4 mana, we get a 1/4 Vidalcan Artificer, and it states that artifacts you control have hexproof. That's pretty cool. There's plenty of artifacts, you know, nice to give them some protection. And at the beginning of your upkeep, if you control the artifact with the highest converted mana cost or tied, you get to draw a card. You know what? If both of you only have a token, which is converted mana cost 0, then you're still tied for the highest, so you're still going to draw a card. I think it's actually pretty strong because we got a lot of artifacts, so the hexproof is relevant. Plus, we're going to be, if you got this card, you draw it, you can look for a little bit more expensive artifacts. Also, maybe some artifacts you can play early on after turn 4, because first you got to cast this guy, so converted mana cost artifacts of 5 or more, so that you're always going to be able to draw that card, which is pretty sweet. So yeah. I would say tier 2.
Exactly. I like it because it draws you cards, it gives you vehicles and other bombs, hexproof, so that's really nice.
Nice, yeah.
So next one, Paradoxical Outcome. 3 in a blue, it's an instant. Return any number of target non-land, non-token permanents you control to the owner's hand and draw a card for each card returned to your hand this way. So you can get back a lot of permanents and then draw those more cards. So that's good.
No, because okay, you're not going to be doing it with your creatures because you're eliminating your own board state. So you're not going to be doing it with your creatures. So that means you need to have artifacts, but you're not going to be doing it against your servos because your servos are tokens. You can't. So then what is left? You got your little artifacts that
get rid of all your lands and draw cards.
Yeah, I guess you could use your lands for it, but the thing is, I think this is going to be really bad. Just put it aside. You know, I'm going to use it to block, and then I return things. No, don't do it. Next, Insidious Will for 4 mana instant. Choose one. You either counter target spell, so we already established that for 4 mana countering a spell is not good. That's too expensive to keep open, especially because it requires the 2 blue as well. And second one is option is you may choose new targets for target spell. Okay, so you kill my thing, I kill one of your things. All right, well you might as well have just countered that spell then. And the third one is copy its spell. You may choose new targets for the copy. The first one, the second one redirects it, and the second one makes a copy.
Yeah.
Okay, I don't really like any of these that for what you're paying for. If it would have been 3 mana, then I think the redirecting would have been pretty cool. But I think for 4 mana, it's too expensive to keep open.
It does a lot of things, so that's good. But for 4 mana, is it worth it? And I don't think so.
No, not at all. Then, Stefan, you like to take this one? Yeah.
Confiscation Coup. It's 3 and 2 blue. It's a sorcery. Choose target artifact or creature. You get 4 energy counters. Then you may pay an amount of energy counters equal to that permanent's converted mana cost, and if you do, you gain control of it. So it's kind of a mind control, but you can choose how much you want to pick, and it isn't an enchantment, so it'll always be yours.
Yeah.
So I actually really like this one.
Yeah.
If you have like an extra energy laying around, then it's a confirmed mana cost 5 creature that you're just stealing.
And most things come in with an extra 2. So essentially, you can get something that convert mana cost 6, because a lot of the early stuff comes in with an extra 2 energy counters. If you know you got this one, you might save that, and then you can get something that convert mana cost 6, and it's very hard for them to get it back. So I think very strong.
It's already good, and it just gets better.
Yeah, even if you take, let's say you don't have any extra.
Yeah.
Worst case scenario, it's turn 5. You know, they just played their 4-drop, and now you got the 5 mana, so you play this one, and you take their biggest thing, because that's their 4-drop that they just played. You take their biggest thing. Now they have 1 creature less, and you have 1 creature extra, and it's also the biggest thing that they had. So that is a huge swing. That's not just you getting an extra creature, that's taking away and you adding. So that's 2 creatures, difference. That's really, really good.
Yeah.
Let's say always play it. Tier
always
2.
Play it.
Then we have Saheeli's Artistry for 6 mana. It's a sorcery. You get to choose one or both. So we're probably going to see if we can get both of these guys. First one is create a token that's a copy of target artifact. Pretty cool. You know, if you got an artifact creature, then that's also going to be a creature. And the second one, create a token that's a copy of target creature, except it's also an artifact into its addition of its other types, which means that essentially if there is a artifact creature token lying around, and it doesn't have to be yours, it could be any, it could also be your opponent's, you're basically for 6 mana you're going to be able to get 2 creatures, which is pretty cool.
That's actually really good, and there'll probably always be a target for it, even though you're not really playing much artifacts, it'll always be target.
And the beauty of it is you can, when you have this, you can start playing some better artifact and artifact creatures. But you know what? Your opponent's also going to be playing that kind of stuff. So even worst case, your opponent's probably going to have something to target. That's what makes it so strong. So you don't have to per se build around it.
Exactly. So I think you'll always have 2 targets for it, and that's what makes it so good.
Yeah. And it's going to be the best things.
Exactly.
Imagine, really good.
Imagine 2 Gearhawks.
Yeah. Okay. I like the blues got some is a little bit weaker on the commons and maybe on the commons as well, but the rares are pretty decent.
Decent.
Yeah, they're amazing. Okay, so the next one we have Aether Squall Ancient. For 7 mana, we get a 6/6 flying Leviathan. Stefan thinks this card is terrible. At the beginning of your upkeep, you get 3 energy counters. That's every upkeep. You're going to be getting 3 energy counters, and you can also pay. And what was it?
8.
8. It was 8, indeed. We get to pay 8 energy counters, and then we get to return all other creatures to their owner's hands. And we can only do this as a sorcery, but that is sick. That's a board wipe, and Aether Squall Ancient stays on the battlefield. Now nobody's got anything except for you've got your 6/6 flyer.
Yeah, I like this so much. I like this so much.
This will win you the game by itself. Play it. Don't regret it.
Tier 1.
Awesome. That's so great. Okay, that is the last one of the rares. Let's have a look at the mythics.
So, the first mythic is Metallurgic Summonings. 3 and 2 blue, it's enchantment, and whenever you cast an instant sorcery spell, you create an XX colorless construct artifact creature token, where X is that spell converted mana cost. So, you're playing instant sorceries, you're just creating tokens with those instant sorceries. So, you move something of theirs, you get a creature. So that's so good.
Yeah. Once again, it's that same swing of 2 creatures. You know, if they're getting 1 less and you're getting 1 extra. That's a big swing.
But also for 3 and 2 blue, exile Metallurgic Summonings, return all instants of sorcery cards from your graveyard to your hand, and then activate this ability only if you have 6 or more artifacts. But if you have a lot of instant sorceries, you're getting creatures, you're getting artifacts, and then you're just getting back all the instant sorceries. So I really like this card.
It's really strong.
Yeah.
It'll win you the game by itself.
Yeah, so tier 1. You have to play a bit more instant sorceries, but if you can get even some decent ones, that's good enough.
Get some combat tricks in there.
Exactly.
Because remember, after the first combat trick on a creature, that combat trick is going to become a creature itself, and then the next combat trick you use on that creature, so you can still keep on using it. Very cool. Then we have Torrential Gearhulk for 6 mana. It is a 5/6 construct with flash. Also, when it enters the battlefield, you get to cast an instant from your graveyard for free. You gotta exile it afterwards. So essentially, how does this work? You leave your 6 mana open, you say pass up turn, and then they attack. Then you flash this thing in to kill whatever is attacking you, and then you also cast an instant removal spell onto something else of theirs to remove their things. So you're basically gonna be killing 2 things, which is gonna be sick. Because 5/6 is going to kill pretty much everything on the battlefield.
Yeah. So,
wins you the game.
Good.
Awesome. Removing 2 things and having a big fatty. Very good. Tier 1. Awesome. Let's have a look at the conclusion.
In conclusion, I think blue is overall weaker than white, but it has some really good bombs, some really good cards.
Yeah, weaker than all the other colors, because of course we really look at all the colors in essence. So it is weaker than, I would say, pretty much all the colors. However, there are a few cards, a few choice rares and mythics that they're just so powerful that I would consider splashing for them in a deck that might be, let's say, green and white. And then you might be able to add some blue just for these powerful effects to trade those cards, for example. Very strong. I like blue in that sense. The removal is nothing to write home about. You know, the creatures are not super strong. What does it do? It's got those very specific, very bomby rares and mythics which you can play, but I think the commons are just not solid enough.
Yeah.
So yeah, just see what you do with that, and let's have a look at the next color. Also, don't forget, subscribe to this channel, because if you do, then you're gonna get a notification when the new video comes out. Gives you the edge for your pre-release and your release. You get to know what the best cards are in the set. Also join us on Facebook and Twitter, because we'll be sharing pictures and comments and combos and what kind of stuff, whatever comes in our minds. So you can ask us questions there. We answer really, really quickly. And that's it. So thanks for watching. I'm David.
And I'm Stefan.
This is Budget MTG Decks.